Okay, so it is another episode of Write Once, Read Many, and we have the brand new song playing, Monarch. Also, Vic is
Oh
here.
yeah. Hell yeah. I need to hop into the stream so I can actually hear the song. There it is. I was so excited to draw these Beavis and Buttheads too. Like, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I think that Taylor is like a lot more descriptive with them than I don't know. I mean, she does describe people like pretty intensely, but it's really hit or miss how much she's gonna talk about somebody's appearance, and she gives like weird specifics for these two, like when she talks about what does she say about Barker's like heavy lidded eyes, and that his eyes are too big for his face, which is ironic because her eyes are also too big for her face.
Oh, yeah, I'm turning the music down a bit. I was leaving it loud because it's the first time.
It's exciting.
But it has been lowered. Hi to Greg and hi to Vale.
Hello.
This one actually, this music didn't have like a second version of it for the ending, so it's just the full thing both times, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like shorter, so it fits kind of the opening more to have it only be like 3 minutes long instead of like, I don't know. The other one, the full thing was 4.5 minutes long. It was just a bit much, you know?
Yeah. No, I'm really into the new song. Like I had heard it in Scarlett's stream or whatever, but it's still exciting.
Yes, I mean I'm excited for it.
Greg said, "Does Biter deliberately look like Baron Underbite?" No, I don't know who that is.
Funny enough, I have been talking to Vic about the Venture Brothers, but I have never specifically mentioned Baron von Underbite. Or Baron Underbite. Or is it Unterbite? I think it might be like, he says his name all crazy, but
yeah, like in a German way.
Yeah. But either way, one of his henchmen is Girl Hitler.
Vale said this art could also be quite poorly interpreted. Taylor on the left and Rachel on the right. I was literally like, when I was drawing Barker, I was like, this is just boy Rachel.
Yeah, this is just the way you already draw Rachel.
This is just Rachel. But I wanted to lean into it because I don't know. I think her and his relationship is really funny.
Yeah. Oh my garb.
Rachel.
As a reminder of the question for audience participation, it's how would you react as Carol? Kaboom. And yeah, then for themes, we didn't really think of any. We were joking that they're manipulation. They're all the accidental manipulation.
You can't help from being manipulative and a lot of over-explaining of things, lots of betrayals. I don't think that, I'm trying to think, like, I guess Taylor doesn't get like super betrayed this chapter, but she does like get a little bit betrayed and then like super overreacts, which is Carol Cole. So
yeah. All right. Well, I guess with that out of the way, I'm just gonna talk about the stuffs. 15.1. The arc opens with a scene of Rachel helping clear Skitter's territory using Bentley to tear down the remains of a damaged building. They've got like a chain harness on Bentley that's tied around all the foundations, and they're just pulling it out with his super strength. So I think this is kind of supposed to be like a fake out that Bitch and Skitter are fighting each other, but that didn't like occur to me naturally. It was only after hearing so many other people being like, I thought they were doing a flash forward to them fighting again. And I was like, oh, I guess. So maybe an intentional fake out that just did not work on me. Um, but Taylor has a moment of reflection here that Bentley is, still just a normal dog on the inside, and that Rachel's giving him the love that he was seeking out after being abandoned or abused. And Taylor herself will do the same thing to Rachel, providing her emotional needs in a way that she has not had in the past, given her sad, no family, no friends backstory. And Skitter delegates a bunch of work to her many minions who, doing whatever things to do with construction, and she's focused on like workplace safety. And there's it's she's like not an
I
evil
know.
overlord. She's a
I
regular
just
overlord.
I saw, I think it was Greg's comment during like the live listen or whatever, where he's like, underage people shouldn't have power, dot dot dot, tools.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
yeah. Do you think that, Taylor, you still think that like people turn 18 and whatever? I don't know. It's just funny as fuck.
It is funny. And then doing Discord alert sounds on. Whoops. Oh, well, I don't, luckily. That must be Vic. Oh, no, gasp. I
Oh.
don't have this alerts on. Well, good. Good. We gasped in the correct direction this time. But yes, OSHA compliant villain overlord, 3 days since last incident. Yeah, exactly. That's pretty good. But where was I? We'll just jump to here. Taylor has a moment of reflection. No, you already read that. There's where I am. Rachel says that Taylor owes her a favor, and that she's very brusque about it. She's just like, you owe me. And then Taylor kind of brushes this off by paying it back with lunch. The trade is accepted, and we move on. Rachel's definitely in a bad place as far as trust goes. We're past the turning point where she gets along with Taylor, but she's in this phase of constantly looking for a betrayal to happen. I just know that everybody's about to betray me.
Yeah.
But Taylor thinks back on her past interactions with Rachel, kind of mentally reviewing their rocky start. She notes that Rachel is making an effort on her side of things lately, and then Rachel gets her 4 people together and they go to Skitter's hideout. They're walking in silence, and Taylor's still worried that anything she says to Rachel might set her off. And so here's a point of her being like kind of manipulative the way that she talks to Rachel, but I think it's just like the amount that she needs to interact with her successfully at all. So it's not like, you know what I mean? It's hard for me to call it manipulative the way that she interacts with Rachel. Just because I don't know.
I agree. I just later, when she's like giving her the stuff and she's like, listen, I'm not trying to be manipulative. It's like, I would not trust that bitch in the moment.
Yeah, I gotcha. So Taylor's gonna have to put more. Oh yeah, I wrote here that Taylor's gonna have to put more levels into talk to bitch, or this just isn't gonna work out. She's not even sure if being friends is a realistic goal, but in a heartwarming, sad moment, she decides that she needs to try. Otherwise, Rachel will be alone forever. Vale's saying, Taylor's trying very hard to be clear in her intentions. It comes across well for me. Well, that's good. I agree. But a lot of it's only in her brain, so. Charlotte is in the lair and is going to cook lunch for them after Taylor asks for like burgers and fries. And Taylor's all like, I don't know why this girl is so shaken up about being attacked in our home. It's been three
Dude,
days already.
it's literally so bad. She's like, I might need to talk to Charlotte about what could possibly be going on. And it's like, what do you mean? You literally were there, like at the merchant's thing when she was being like auctioned off as a sex slave.
Yeah.
You have all the context you need, Taylor. Jesus.
Yeah. And I mean, Taylor's so crazy. I
I don't know.
I love it. I mean, even Sierra is like weirdly like she wasn't there, but she knows that like Charlotte was at the merchants thing. They're all being very obtuse, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I think that they're, I don't know. I mean, I don't know about Sierra, but I feel like Taylor is just like, she's like so unable to put herself in the shoes of civilians because she's like, she shouldn't be that scared. She should have just sticked her giant beetle on everybody.
She's all like she's going up to Charlotte later and she's like, Charlotte, you've been kinda acting like Sundancer, like that beta.
Oh my God, true. Vale said, I'm not being manipulative. 20,000 bees echo the statement, helping reinforce the idea. They whisper it in Rachel's ears at night, so she gets like the subliminal messaging.
Exactly. Um so Taylor has Rachel go take Bentley to the beach so that he can slowly transform back to normal size. Um and get all the guts everywhere because they always do that, leaving slimy guts all over the place.
Yummy.
Yummy. But now that she's alone with the four henchmen, two capes, and two normies, Taylor thinks how forgettable these capes are, and that she was too busy fighting the Nine to think about them. She just doesn't know their powers. So Biter asks Skitter how she gets along with Rachel, which she's hesitant to answer, but eventually tells them some super basic stuff like, don't lie. It's just like the most
It's
basic
just
shit ever.
it's just don't lie and also do everything that she says and that she wants you to do. And it's like, I mean, yeah, that is a way to get people on your side.
Yeah. So she tells them that crap, and then Barker says some shit about bitch not being a good boss, and I didn't know how to fit it into this sentence, but in my mind I kept thinking of him going, the boss. Like that's all I could think while I was writing this section. Anyway, so Skitter says to cope, and then asks what his power is. Barker demonstrates his power in a way that she finds quite rude, and as seen in this image here, she beats him up and then puts some spicy bugs on him.
Yeah, yeah. She doesn't just beat him up. She like she goes really ham. It's like every time I read this chapter, I like think that the last thing that she did is like, oh, okay, like we're good now. And then she like ups the ante and I'm like, okay, we're good now. And then she does it again.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I like how she's like, oh, I had to hide behind the legs of the chair, which made me look weak, and it's like, maybe to somebody, but yeah. Anyway, where are we? Boop boop boop. So it's a fun little scrap, and it gives us another taste of how much better at fighting she is now. Fighter sits by as it happens, as seen here. Rachel walks in after Barker is already writhing on the ground from the spice. And for a moment, she's mad, but then Skitter says that she didn't start it, and Biter backs up her story with a nod. And so Skitter says she's surprised that Biter didn't do anything, and he says that it's her house, her rules. And after this, he describes his power to make parts of himself grow larger for a short period of time. And along with the gear, he's able to like punch people with big spiked knuckles or whatever. like some sort of video game character Knuckles. Um, and Taylor can see why they didn't bring this guy along to a serious fight like the Nine. Yeah. So,
Too
um,
goofy looking.
too goofy looking. I think it's like their powers just don't sound like maybe I'm doing the thing, but their powers don't sound like very good. It sounds like they would have been a liability on the battlefield.
I think that Barker's power has gotta he's gotta have more than just a nice loud clap, right? Like
Well, I think he like explodes it when he's fighting like Dragon, but and maybe it's just because he's fighting Dragon, but it just seems like he's getting chumped. It seems like
yeah.
he kind of is a dude who like hits stuff with a bat in addition to his, and like with Gru, that's fine because there's no offensive portion to his power, but he can really
Hmm.
like just take you out in close combat with another weapon. But like this guy
Hmm.
just seems like a chump. I don't know.
Yeah, I kinda feel like that.
Yeah. Anyway, so where are we? The girl here tells us her backstory about being a vet student, and there's this long but tense back and forth between her and Rachel, and she's negotiating adopting a dog, and Taylor's relieved as it goes well, and then the fourth guy doesn't get a turn. He doesn't get to say anything. Um, Taylor, I think we hear about him like in when Coyle is introducing the characters, but I don't know. I didn't look it up. He's like a college student or something. Um, so then Taylor checks in with Charlotte, who is worried about Barker attacking them, and Taylor's telling her like, "No, don't worry about it. It's fine." And Lisa calls in, and Taylor even thinks of her as Lisa, which has become rarer and rarer. So I thought that was worth pulling out. The group is going
Hmm.
to arrive in a few minutes, though. So Taylor's alone upstairs when she takes that call and decides that she needs to spend her last few minutes with Rachel in the clothes workshop to show her her costume before the others get there. Um, and there's a fun moment of Taylor rationalizing to herself that Barker pushed her, so she had to retaliate in excess of the slight made against her. It's fine.
Yeah. And you didn't mention it. I mean, okay, so what he does is rude, but he does explicitly ask before uh doing it if she wants a demonstration of his power.
Yeah, it's true.
Which this is the second time that because the same thing happened with Guru like a few chapters ago, where she's like, "Tell me about your power," and he's like, "Oh look," and then she's like, "Put that shit away right now." She gets like unreasonably upset. I know that he like calls her a whore. That's like most of the problem in my opinion.
Yeah, like I don't think that he
But
needs to use any word to set off his power.
she seemingly is upset that he did the demonstration of power, not the fact that he called her a name. As far as I can tell, she doesn't really say either way.
Yeah. Um,
Um,
Vale says, "Why not just invite him to stab you? The normal way to look tough." Um, and then Barker is no defense tank, all taunt, or no defense tank, all taunt. And then Greg had said Taylor was just being polite and demonstrating her power in return. Yeah, I think that one's a
mhm,
compelling argument. That's true.
that's true.
Her power is to beat you up and then put spice bugs on you. Where was I? So, I was here-ish. Yes. After thinking about crushing her enemies, Taylor also thinks about how being nice to her friends might make her look weak if other people see it. So, we can't have that. And why does everybody think I'm evil? I can't let them see me being nice to my friends. Um, So after going upstairs, she shows Rachel the jacket that she made out of spider silk with all the armor panels worked into it. There's a ton of little things made specifically to try and match Rachel's taste. Like It's got breathable zippers at the shoulder. What do you call them? Shoulders,
Like little air vents
air
or
vents.
whatever.
Yeah, and then it's got tons of pockets so that she can put dog crap in there. Possibly literal dog crap. Who knows?
Mm.
And then even though she's getting a little bit of pushback at first to the leggings, when she talks about why she made them, then it seems like Rachel's probably going to wear them for the benefits of having protected legs while riding dogs. It's like her whole macho thing isn't really as important as the inside of her legs.
Mm.
And then the last item Skitter made for Bitch is a mask modeled after the mutations of her dogs, to which the response is, looks like Brutus. And then Taylor's been yammering away this whole time, explaining every little detail about stuff, until she finally has the good sense to wait for Rachel to say something that's not a direct response. And Rachel asks if Taylor made these for the others. She says, yeah. And then Rachel says she's not the only one, but she didn't ask for this and told Taylor to fuck off in addition. So Taylor isn't sure what direction this is going and goes, don't worry about it. Look, the hamburgers will be ready soon. She tries to like snacks already him like this is Kaz Khan. I don't know. What's Greg saying? You want to read the chant?
Vale said the embroidery was going a bit far, and T plus R forever woven in the back had to get redacted.
Gotcha. Yeah. Because she was saying it was a friend thing, but maybe it was romantic. She didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Too complicated. She had to get rid of that. Let's see here. Rachel says that she doesn't get many gifts. Then she talks about the negative experiences she has had in the past with foster dad and with Coyle using gifts to manipulate her. There's the theme again, manipulation.
There it is.
There it is. Taylor says that this is different, and then has to just end with saying like, wear it or not, it's fine either way. And then Rachel says that she'll wear it, and they head downstairs. And like Taylor imagines, that's about as good as you're gonna get from Rachel. So food is obtained, and the other Undersiders arrive with Shatterbird in tow, and they head upstairs to the much more official and villainous second floor to try on their new costume stuffs like Rachel had. And it says that the boys and Shatterbird turn away while Lisa and Aisha change, but they should have made Taylor turn away too. She's one of those sex perverts, so...
It's one of those perverts, and she probably has bugs all over him anyways, so
yeah.
she can still kind of see.
She's like, I could feel the exact proportions of their body or whatever, but it's not weird. It's fine, actually.
It actually helps with making adjustments.
Exactly. So Gru gets a new demon mask on the based on the figure that he got in the market in Arc 4. So it's a total callback. Pretty good. She's thinking what he likes. And then mostly they all have the same costume looks, but like made better and more defensive-y by being made of the spider silk. And I think that by this time she has like the Darwin's bark spiders, and she's making like the crazy costumes that are like a level above what she made with her Black Widows. So, Greg says, how do you think Taylor got Bitch's measurements? Well, the claim is that she remembers what the other coat felt like, but I don't know, a little suspicious. Let's see here. Yes, so seemingly Taylor kicked herself into high gear the last 3 days to make all this because the fights with the Slaughterhouse 9, or because during those she was kicking herself that her teammates wouldn't have gotten hurt if they had been wearing better costumes. So they gather and sit in the chairs around the room, no doubt looking like some sort of evil council. And after Aisha says that they're different people than they were before the costume change an hour ago, then Taylor corrects that they're different people than they were a week ago, which of course would be right before they started fighting the Nine. And Taylor takes in some physical signs of things. She sees Tattletale's scar, Shatterbird's presence signaling Regent fully using his power, and most of all, what happened to Gru. And then she turns for a moment to look inward, and she knows that something has changed, but she just can't put a finger on it. So
It decides not to delve too deep into it.
I don't have time to think about that right now. So Brian asks why Lisa wanted to touch base. She says that she and the Skidder wanted to get everyone on the same page as them. And Brian asks if she means tactically. And at first, she says that they're weak to coordinated attacks right now because they're all split up. And then Alex says that it's a little much if that's all. And Taylor speaks up and says that they need to bring up a topic that's going to change the status quo for the team. My God. And then Taylor asks the group, do you want to read this little quote?
How keen are you guys on continuing to work for Coil?
Oh my God, what a question.
Oh.
What a way to open a conversation. Well, after the question of how soon they'd be quitting, they're like, would we be quitting immediately? And then Taylor's like, I don't know. But like half or more of the team can't sit by while Dinah's in Coil's captivity. And Aisha, she gives some quips that she's not responsible for that at all because, Taylor brings up the fact that they have different ideas on how culpable they are. And Taylor kind of gracefully sidesteps this and says that she thinks Aisha would be on board with them. And I think this is the perfect manipulation because it puts Aisha into a position where Taylor's saying, I think highly enough of you that I know you'll be on my side here. Like, I don't even need to question it. And, like, if she does need to fight that point, then Aisha would be, like, losing points, So I think it's pretty masterful. In terms of, like, underrated Taylor manipulations, I think that's up there. Alec tries to drag Brian into being a sticking point, probably just because he's bored. And Brian explains that Coil more or less doesn't have anything on him anymore because Aisha's already in his care. And, from my perspective, even if things went back to normal, I think we've moved past a point where they need to win some custody battle. She's a cape now with the power to make people not remember her. Is not really a problem.
Yeah, and like the whole point, I feel like originally was like, oh, I need to keep Aisha out of trouble. I need to make sure she has a normal upbringing. And like getting powers kind of took away that entire like purpose of getting like lawful custody over there.
I agree. I mean, the thing is that it's really unlikely she's going to go back to school. Even if she was going to like learn things, she's probably going to be permanently out of society and would be learning in the context of like a single private tutor that's for her.
Yeah.
So like everything is different now. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, Alec asks what happens if he says that he wants to stay with Coil. Lisa says that they'll work around him. Alec is all like vague, and then she points out the obvious that if he's going to be against them, they can't just tell him what they're doing. And for a moment he's saying that they shouldn't all need to change what they're doing for the moral quibble of a single team member. Then Taylor like elucidates the whole situation, just saying aloud what it is, and gets real mad, saying it's not just a quibble. And letting out a dramatic sigh, Alex says that he was just kidding, that he's going to help them as a way to spend his time before the world ends. But it's unclear to me if he's just saying this to move the conversation along because it has since...
I don't think he was just kidding. I think he was literally like, what happens if I do this? And like trying to see if it would like what is more worth it for him. And obviously like it's just worth it to stay with the team because they're being so annoying when he even suggests
well that's literally what I was saying here is that it's like during the conversation it has become more of a hassle to stay in the conversation than just going along with Taylor. And that's the part that I find so funny. But in conversation, the mood has been spoiled now that they're all thinking about the end of the world. And Alec is pleased with his little disruption and says that he's just being real, man. You're just all, you don't want to face the truth. And that, he's just bringing up Dinah's prophecy. And Taylor says there's a chance the world won't end, and that there's got to be an answer given the possibility space the powers open up. And despite annoying Brian, Alec says that he's going to help them, so they're able to stop the argument. And then Rachel is on their side right away. She says stuff about how Coyle broke his promise that she would be left alone if she joined the team, so she thinks that he conned her, which he kind of did, but like I don't know that the initial team pitch, like
Rachel has a different idea of what being left alone means versus like the rest of society.
Yeah. I think a big part of it is like I think that she should go against Coyle the same way that she does, but just for different reasons along the timeline. Like, he is a shit to her and is generally a shit who's planning to betray her, but the initial team pitch itself is fine.
Yeah.
Anyway. So she's not going to let him off the hook for that, and now they're all on the same page. It's pretty unclear what plan that they're going to do, and it's hard to plan forward given how up in the air everything is, but now they'll all be at least ready to flip as a unit when the moment is right, rather than, like, what? We're turning against them suddenly?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then in a week and a half, Dinah is going to have her powers back. And then that would allow Coyle to know they're making a move. And they also need to keep the city from getting condemned, because if that happens, Coyle will leave the city, meaning they can't save Dinah. And then Lisa also thinks that if Coyle moved to another city, he'd leave behind or kill both herself and Skitter, and that he has enough of a way around her power that it wouldn't be a problem. And then one thing they do have going for them is the mayoral election is coming up that might distract Coyle. Other than that, there's not a lot of like good news column stuff. And Brian says that this will be a different kind of fight. Lisa says that even she's not sure what Coyle's endgame is, and reminds the others that the Chosen will be coming after them. And then they've got to contend with the small army of Coyle's soldiers, in addition to the Travelers and other local capes. So, it's a shit show. But Alec ends the arc with ends the chapter with another quip here. He goes, you want to read it, actually?
At least we'll have something to help pass the time while we wait for the world to end.
Wow, you sounded like a Goosebumps character. Anyway, yeah, that's the chapter.
I think Alec gets some good highlights in here.
Pretty good. He's only in like a fifth of the chapter, but he still gets some lines off.
I don't necessarily think he's wrong. That, like, I don't know. Like, I know that Taylor and Lisa are like, we're gonna figure it out. Nothing bad's gonna happen. The world's not gonna end. We can single-handedly stop this. But, like, I would probably be thinking around Alec's point of view.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Lisa and Taylor are stuck in a permanent, like, they're sure that they can yell at the end of any given conversation, I've outbrained you, and have just defeated their enemy. But that can't always work. Yeah. I think this is a really good opening to the arc. I think this is a great first chapter. I really like sort of, I know there's like a little fight and whatever, and there's some tense dialogue maybe, but generally this is a pretty low-key chapter. And I like when she's just sort of like ruling over her territory. There's like not actually that many chapters like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I thought it was good.
Any more thoughts before we move on?
Nope.
All right, all right. Um, so let's you start in.
All right. Interlude 15.x. 13-year-old Carol Dallin. Oh my gosh, we know that lady. And her sister Sarah have been kidnapped and kept somewhere vague that has no light and very little food. And they've been there for weeks or even months. They don't really know because of the just persistent darkness, and it seems like their food deliveries are like really irregularly spaced or something like that. And they've been like so malnourished that Carol even lost her period. So unclear how long they've been there, but there's a lot of unclear things about this whole situation. Um, but the girls reach out to each other, and the physical contact briefly alleviates some of Carol's feelings about the darkness like pushing in on her. But they hear a lock being opened, and Carol stares right at the man holding a lamp when he enters the room, even though the light's hurting her eyes. He sets down a depressing looking meal of like some soup and bread that would have only been enough to feed one person. And when he leaves, Carol's like, "Thank you." And he like turns to look at her for a second and then just leaves silently.
It's like
And
terrible.
it's really embarrassing. And Carol's like, "Why did I thank him?" And she can't really figure out like what that was about, and isn't really confident that it was like a tactic to like try to get him to just bring them more food. Some amount of time later, it's ambiguous, but it seems like it's been weeks or months again later. The girls are awoken by a different man with a lantern, this time a stranger, who swiftly tells them that quote unquote time's up. Oh, that's ominous. Carol asks where the other man is, the one that brings them food, and the stranger quiets them. Carol and Sarah see a knife in his hand, and they start freaking out because they've realized that time's up means that they're going to get murdered now.
Mhm.
And they won't even know why this ever happened to them. Do we? This is spoilers for me. Do we ever learn why this happened to them, like in word or anything?
Well, they were just kidnapped because their parents were rich enough that they were being ransomed for money, and their parents
Oh,
like didn't pay the money or whatever, so they were gonna kill them now.
cool.
There was no like powers reason. There's no like big grand plot.
I didn't think so, and I assumed it was a ransom situation. I think that I was getting mixed up with their ransom situation and Battery's ransom situation because she was like in a similar place.
I think she might have been kidnapped specifically because of her dad being on the police force, though. So I think that might
Yeah,
have been different.
and it seemed like a much nicer kidnapping as
Yeah,
far as I could
like
tell.
this was like awful, and that one was like I in the realm of kidnappings fairly tame.
It seemed like she was like a normal prisoner situation where this is not that. This has been
Like most
uh
people, if they were
much
to
more gruesome.
capture a person as a prisoner for some sort of scheme, like I know that that's already kind of a bad thing, but I think there's a wide swath of people who would still
Yeah,
treat the person like pretty well because it's
yeah.
like a much bigger line to cross, I guess. Um,
Yeah, I think
anyway,
so. Especially when you're doing things like just for ransom money
yeah,
or
just for
whatever.
money.
There's there's no like benefit of like treating them really poorly, really.
Yeah, I mean, there's like the neglect aspect, but the point that I always think of is like if you just like throw them back, that's so much less of a charge than killing them. Like just
Y-
for your own benefit, like logically.
Yeah, yeah. But anyways, this guy doesn't care about that. He's about to stab him. And Sarah shrieks like a final no, and Carol's blinded by a bright light. When it fades again, the tables have turned, and her sister Sarah is actually standing, and the man is on his hands and knees. But upon closer inspection, Sarah's not actually standing. She's hovering like right above the ground. She's like on her tippy toes, but it's clear that
I
there's some
think that
power
she's
stuff
got like,
happening.
yeah, I think that she's got like muscle atrophy. Like she couldn't walk across the room like she's doing, but she could float.
Yeah. Yeah. She can float a little bit to help. Um, and she does that. She advances towards the man and just like keeps blasting him with her bursts of light and beats him to a pulp.
I think she
They don't
concussive blasts him to death.
Yeah, they don't say it explicitly, but she does definitely murder him.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So Carol's working on bringing herself to her feet when she sees the man who brings them food in the doorway, and he has a gun. Carol is shocked and appalled, and the man shoots at them, but luckily his shots are blocked by a transparent wall that Sarah raises. And Carol feels so betrayed by this man who brought them food maybe once or twice a week. And she had like gotten to a point where she'd been happy to see him, because like this was the only good part of their time there. And commenced trigger event. I pulled a big quote here. It's broken up a little bit if you want to read it.
A flat plain stretched out around her, but she had no body. She could see in every direction. A crack split the ground. Once the dust had settled, nothing happened for a long time. More cracks. It's an egg, she realized, just in time to see it hatch. The egg's occupant tore free from the crack, unfolding from a condensed point to grow larger with every moment and movement. Others were hatching from the same egg, spreading out like sparks from the shell of a firework. But her attention was on the first. She felt it reach out and connect with another that shared a similar trajectory. Each settled into a position around the ruined egg, embracing their chosen companions, rubbing against, into, and through one another as they continued to grow. There were multiple copies of the egg, multiple versions, and they each stirred, deviating from one another until subtle double images appeared. Then, one by one, they crumpled into a single point. The egg at the center of the formation of these creatures was the last, and for the briefest of moments it roiled with the pressure and energy of all the others. Then it detonated, and the creatures came alive, soaring out into the vastness of the void, trails of dust following in their wake, each with a partner, a companion, traveling in a different direction. And she was back in the dark room, staring at the man, the betrayer.
Pretty cool, but as usual, the memory quickly fades. So too bad she won't remember that.
She's
Awesome.
no Miss Militia.
Yeah, she's no Miss Militia. There are scarce Miss Militias out there. But Sarah had fallen to the ground, and Carol advances on the man. Her overwhelming emotions only there. She describes like all of her emotions are so overwhelming that they're canceling each other out. So the only thing she's left with is the like confused betrayal. A weapon resembling a crude baseball bat made of energy appears in her hands, and she swings at his leg, cutting it right off. She goes even further than Sarah. Like, they don't describe what she does to the man, but it
She
seems like she
lightsabers
chops
big
him up.
chumps out of him, I think.
Yeah, she like chops him up into like little tiny diced pieces. And afterwards, she and Sarah hug and cry uncontrollably. So, anyways, moving on.
Yeah,
Carol's now Brandish. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
She and her team are currently known as the Brockton Bay Brigade, and they have finally maybe seemingly caught their multi-time rival Marquis. Um, they like attacked him in his own home, which like maybe there was no thing about this before, but you're definitely not supposed to do that.
Well, I think the reason nobody cares about this and doesn't consider it like crossing the line, because he doesn't really seem to care about it either as a like concept, is because I think that materially there is no civilian persona. He is only Marquis.
Hmm.
So like there's a difference between that kind of cape and the kind of cape with a civilian identity.
Yeah,
Maybe. Like
that's true.
maybe that's how it felt to me, which like nobody brings it up, but I just feel like that's kind of like a baseline assumption here.
Yeah. Um, Marquis isn't too worked up about it. And he's like, it's fine. I'm ridiculously wealthy, and I'll just go buy another house. He attempts to reach for his wine that's sitting next to his armchair. He's like in a bathrobe through this whole fight, which I just keep forgetting about.
It's
Or
funny
not a
cuz he seems like
bathrobe,
a
but like a,
squatter.
yeah.
Anyway.
Um, but Manpower and Brandish charge him. So Marquis activates his power, spewing out bones from his entire body several feet out. Brandish says he looks like a sea urchin, and it's like the bones are coming out of every single pore, which is just horrific. Brandish activates her power as well, so that she isn't knocked over, condensing her entire body into one point surrounded by a layered spherical force field, and then quickly snapping back into human form. Manpower wasn't so lucky and runs into a lot of pointy bone bits, but don't worry, his power is being over 8 feet tall. This power does not prevent shrapnel from piercing Brandish's husband flesh pain.
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's fine. Um, I just every time Manpower is in a scene, all I can think about is that he's supposed to be like 8'6".
He's giant.
He's fucking huge.
He's huge, bro.
There's some other people here called Lightstar and Fleur, but who the fuck cares about those guys? So I kind of don't talk about them in this write up. But apparently Lady Photon does, because she
Well,
shields them
I was going to say I think
and
specifically Carol doesn't care very much about them or wants to move on from thinking about them. But
it seems like it.
like I don't know. As I recall, Fleur is the member of New Wave who was killed when they took their identities public after they started New
Mm.
Wave, and then Lightstar left the team, and Lightstar is her brother, who her and Sarah's
Oh.
brother.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Why the fuck doesn't she like okay, that's fine. I mean, I
He
don't know.
wasn't
I don't
kidnapped
know
with
all
her.
the
She doesn't care.
yeah. Um, well, we're just gonna ignore them just like Carol does for like this entire fight because
Yeah.
she really does not talk about them at all. But Lady Photon still loves her brother and her sister-in-law, so she does shield them and flashbang as the fight goes back and forth. Lady Photon asks what Marquis is protecting, and British too notices that he isn't acting like his usual self. This isn't. He's not fighting like he usually
He
does,
usually goes
and
full
his
mole.
banter, yeah, and his banter is a lot uh just not quite the same as it usually is.
He's not dropping
So
any F bomb.
he's being super PC. The battle goes on, and Marquis manages to take all but Brandish and Manpower out of the fight. When Marquis sinks into the ground, Brandish takes the opportunity to charge for a closet door, which she thinks he's protecting, but Marquis emerges between her and the door out of the floor. She downs him with her energy sword and again asks, "What are you protecting?" And he replies, "The most precious treasure in the world." It's really like,
It's Victoria's
I
most
don't know.
precious treasure.
Marcus is just really funny. I don't know. He's just such a silly, goofy guy, even when like his life is being ripped from him right now.
He is such a silly goose.
So when they open the closet door, they find a little girl clutching a pillow for security. Oh my gosh, it's almost like when she was in the dark with nothing for security, all by herself, whatever. Marquis introduces his daughter.
Oh, whatever.
Marquis introduces his daughter Amelia to the Brockton Bay Brigade and tells her that these are the people who will be taking care of her from now on. And the heroes are like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Her mother was killed by my
But
arch nemesis, the Big C, a villain who gives you cancer.
I was like the big C. What? But that makes
That's
sense.
common parlance for cancer for a lot of people.
Okay. Marquis tells them that they can't possibly put his 6-year-old who's obviously going to be getting powers into the foster care system. And yeah, Amelia's mom is dead. So what are our other options? Definitely no other options here. Amelia is also not too
Oh
happy with
no!
this arrangement. Oh my
I read
gosh.
what Greg said.
AKA Marquis, aka Bone Daddy.
Yep.
Gross. Yeah, the Brockton Bay Brigade is not about this, and neither is Amelia. And she tells the heroes that they can't take her dad away from her. She loves him more than anything else in this world. And Brandish foolishly like tries to lawyer with Amelia, which is really
He's a
funny.
criminal.
She's like, he's a criminal though. He breaks laws. He's not a good person. And Amelia yells at her that she hates her and she'll never forgive them. And Brandish feels this like vast emotional gap between them when Amelia rejects her comforting hand. Brandish is like, "I'm out of here," and walks outside and just decides that the others can handle this situation, which she definitely shouldn't have done because then Lady Photon comes outside to meet her, and she has fallen for Marquis's charms and great reasoning skills, and tells Brandish that she will have to take in Amelia as her own daughter, which is crazy. Vale said the premise of this, where defeating an enemy leads to adopting their children, seems slightly odd to me. It is. I
There's
mean, it's
Star Trek
like
episodes like this.
I feel like this. It's so fan fiction too. Like it's everything I love. It's so contrived, but that's the like point of it. Is like Marquis did contrive this, and then they fall for it.
It's pretty crazy. Overall.
Yeah. Um. So Lady Photon can't take them in, can't take her in because she already has 2 kids of her own, and they don't have the funding to take someone else in. And Brandish is like, I never even wanted to have kids, but she ended up like caving for Mark after seemingly like years of thinking about it. And she felt that she could trust her daughter Victoria since she would be able to know her from day one, and that she's never going to be able to feel the same for Amelia. And Lady Photon's like, but you have a husband.
Well,
Like,
it's like crazy because it's almost like she. The way I read it is she's just like, the reason Victoria's safe is because I grew her inside me. That's the only
that is
reason.
that is what she said. She's like, I grew her in my womb, and then she never had to be anybody else besides me. Um, and it is true. Like she has a husband who she like does not have, seemingly she like doesn't have issues trusting Mark as far as we can tell from this chapter. So what the fuck are you talking about, Carol?
But he's checked out enough that she can feel okay about being checked in.
But back in present times, Amy and Carol have in fact not been doing so well, just as Carol predicted. All Carol knows is that when the Slaughterhouse Nine showed up in town, Amy suddenly healed Mark's brain injury, which she refused to do prior to that, and then went MIA.
Mhm.
Victoria went looking for her, and now she's missing too and possibly dead. But now after the battle with Slaughterhouse 9 is over, Tattletale gave New Wave the info to point them in the right direction to find Victoria and Amy. So Brandish and Lady Photon arrive in a ruined neighborhood, and Amy quickly steps outside of a house to block the entrance. Not suspicious at all.
Nothing
She
suspicious
can't
here.
even yeah, she can't even look Brandish in the eye and just is apologizing and like can't respond to any of Brandish's line of questioning, which she is I don't know, she's like always in lawyer mode, but you know what I mean. She's like berating her with questions right now. And it's like making Amy worse and worse. She's just like super out of sorts. She's crying and like has obviously been crying for a long time and is like only blocking the door for like the principle of blocking the door because obviously like she's not going to be able to stop them from going in.
I think her plan was like,
I'll
if they
explain
don't push
everything.
past me, it'll work. Like just that they wouldn't push past her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that I think so. I don't like talk about it in this part or whatever, but Carol has like whatever mothership she felt over Amy before now is completely demolished. She like repeatedly refers to Victoria as my daughter or whatever, which is like implying
That Amy isn't.
that Amy isn't. Like it is clear that like the hope is that Amy would be approached by her as like her mother or whatever, but that is not happening. So, um, but Lady Photon tries to reason a little bit more softly and manages to get out of Amy that Victoria is alive, but clearly not okay with the way that Amy is reacting. And Amy explains her weird meat coffin thing, and then how she put Victoria in a trance, and how the Slaughterhouse 9 had been trying to get in her head, and she just wanted to say goodbye to Victoria. That's all she wanted, guys.
It was the only thing that she was doing. If if I didn't have an end to that.
Um, Brandish forms her weapon and swings at Amy's hand, which is clearly shocking to Amy, and Amy scatters out of the way. And Brandish starts
Are
searching
you
the
sure she
house.
doesn't
And
skitter out of the way?
what does it say in the chapter? She like scuttles out of the way or
Oh,
something
maybe
like
it is
that.
Scuttle.
Um, Brandish starts searching the house, and when she starts
Oh, she
heading up
just
the stairs,
scrambled. Boring.
she scrambles. Amy starts bugging out and she's like, let me explain. And Brandish sees up the stairs what has become of Victoria, and cue a classic Amy explanation.
Oh, I
She
forgot
just
to change the
rambles.
art.
Oh, yeah, let's change the art.
It's a pretty quick speed draw. Maybe the fastest one.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot involved. Well, there was a lot of love involved in it, okay?
Hmm.
That's all that matters. This is our Mother's Day card from Victoria and Amy. Isn't it cute? And it's their mom, Carol. She's got the orange around her because obviously orange is her favorite color because that's her costume.
Mm-hmm.
And Carol has framed it. She keeps it on her office desk at her lawyer job.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um. Anyway,
Victoria can sign
just
in
so
cursive, but Amy, not so much. She's not as
Victoria
good of
was
a
putting in
student.
the she was putting in the work to try to impress her mom.
Like,
But
Victoria made this, but
Amy's
Amy signed it.
yeah. Also on the left there is a picture of her in her breaker form.
Yeah,
Yeah. Phil said, I only trust half of this card, Carol. Um, oh my God. Amy's like name getting cut off at the bottom or whatever. It's just,
it's perfect.
oh, Carol. Anyways, let's cue the Amy ramble. Oh, I just wanted to see her smile. I just wanted to get one last hug. I just wanted some closure. Then when I was all done with my closure, I had to undo all of the mental and physical changes I'd done. So over the course of seemingly several days, Amy lost track of what was up and what was down. And I pulled a quote here.
Yeah, a caricature, a twisted reflection of how Amy saw Victoria, the swan curve of the nape of the neck, the delicate hands, the countless other features, repeated over and over again throughout.
So Victoria's sitting on a mattress, kind of spilling over with arms and legs and shoulders and heads all over the place. Just like
A real
she
people
doesn't get
pile.
very specific with description. But there's a lot of her. And Amy pleads to Carol to tell her what to do, and looks to Carol, like she thinks she and Sarah did when they stumbled from the house that they'd been kept in after their triggers. Um, Carol watches. Oh,
There's a flash
yeah,
forward.
sorry. There's a break there. Flash forward. Carol's watching Amy in a parking lot to be loaded into a vehicle to be transported to the bird cage. Amy had, in fact, asked to be incarcerated, so there was no need for any court or trial. Dragon gives her condolences to Carol and reminds her that this is her last chance if
She
she
hadn't
wants
just
to
asked, by the way.
do
She had,
anything.
like, threatened that she'd unleash plagues if they didn't put her in the birdcage.
Yeah, because I feel like normally they would not have agreed to that. Like, it's a little bit sus if somebody's asking to go into the birdcage, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But in this situation, it made sense to do. So Carol goes outside and approaches Amy. She hesitantly reaches out to her, but then pulls her into a tight hug. And both silent, Amy steps in the truck and it leaves. So Carol goes back inside, and Dragon asks about why Mark isn't there. And Carol said that he's actually accompanying Victoria to go to the Parahumans Asylum right now. And Dragon's like, oh, we could have rescheduled this. I don't know. Dragon's so goofy. But Carol says that Victoria is gone, and what's left of her is just a mockery. Oof,
This is
Carol.
terrible.
Carol asks to watch Amy's arrival in the birdcage, and Dragon leaves Carol for several hours to wait by herself until Amy arrives at the asylum. So Dragon comes back when it's time and pulls up live surveillance onto the monitor. And she watches as Amy steps out of the elevator. There's like a crowd of people gathered to meet her, probably because some of them have like kind of heard what happened, maybe, and mostly, you know, they want to see who's coming to join them. And after a couple minutes, Marquis steps forward and tells her that he's been waiting for her.
Oh,
And
shit.
yeah, Carol feels like this is the answer to the question she didn't even know she was asking and has seen enough, and she leaves the office.
Hmm.
Dun dun dun.
That's the end.
That's crazy, dude.
Dude, it was crazy. But also,
Uh,
we learned, I mean, we didn't put this in the thing, but she was expressing some of that, she was expressing some of this conversation to her coworker Alan, but it was
Hmm.
Alan Barnes, fucking Emma's dad. So this
Yeah,
guy's
there
being
was
all
just
nice, and then he's this dickhead that we already know.
there there was a reveal that they actually work she like works at the same lawyer firm or whatever as Emma's dad, which I do think is funny.
They're both high-powered lawyers. She like earns money for like two families. I don't think the
Yeah.
others really have proper jobs. Like, not
It
just
doesn't
not
seem
Mark.
like it.
So
They
yeah.
might just like they might like do new wave stuff, like get a little bit of funding for like I don't know, like probably going to events and stuff. It seems like they do a bit of that, but a
Yeah.
lot of the like event going they do is also just volunteer, so not in the best
I think,
financial
okay,
situation.
so what it is that, like, Sarah's in charge of the team in terms of, like, fighting and stuff, technically, but Carol is in charge of all the business stuff. So they, like, have brand deals. Like, they
Hmm.
sold their likeness to video games and stuff. Like, that's something Victoria reflects on in the next thing. She's like, oh, yeah, there was, like, an e reader card, more or less, that you could buy so that you could scan it and put me into the game. And like Amy's card
Um,
was really valuable because there were so few heals.
oh my God. Greg said Glastic Wenier had to kill a bunch of people to get in. They're coworkers and also both certified good parents.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um so yeah. My word. Chapter thoughts. Great chapter. I love it. Most people don't like Carol, and I think that she's like not a good person or whatever, and like not a good parent. That's not like my argument. I think she's like just a really good character.
Yeah.
She's like amazing, and like she's just such a shit in so many situations.
I know.
I love her. Uh,
I love Carol too. I can't help but love like a crazy problematic mom because I have a crazy problematic mom, and so like I get it.
yeah, yeah.
Like she is trying her best, probably.
Hopefully,
Hopefully. Oh my God.
yeah. All right. Well, moving on to the arc stuff. Like I said about the previous chapter, great intro. I think this is something I almost had as the question: is the arcness of learning this information in 15.x. I have heard the mild complaint previously that some people think it would be better to have this chapter at the end of 14. But I think that having the gap here and not learning in 14 what happened to Amy and Victoria is like good actually. It's not like some
Hmm.
masterstroke, it's just like slightly better than the other way.
I think it's like it's pretty interesting because I feel like it's easy. Not that it's easy to forget about them, but it kind of is because you're like so swept up in like Taylor's stuff, and then it's like, oh, Amy and Victoria left, okay,
Well, it
and
kind of
so
feels
then
like you're worried about them because you're like maybe Jack's going to go back to the school, but then he doesn't. So you're like, "Oh,
yeah,
they're fine, I guess." And
yeah, and they're
like
super not fine.
it doesn't occur to Taylor or to me reading it the first time that like obviously Amy's had some bad behavior, but like it just did not occur to me in the slightest that this would happen.
Yeah, I did not think that Amy was going to quote unquote let loose.
Yeah.
So we all thought that I don't know. I guess it's like, oh, she got away from the Slaughterhouse Nine. Now things are at the very worst. Like she's going to do what the bad thing that she said she was going to do, which was finish healing her, then change her mind back, then leave forever, which is like
Like
not what we want.
that is like pretty much what I thought she was going to do. Like I was foolish enough to believe her stated goals, but what I think it
Yeah.
is that having the excuse that she had already broken her rules, you know, when she saved Taylor and by extension the city. That was the
Hmm.
like personal excuse to be like, "Oh no, I've broken my rules. Now that I've broken my rules,
Yeah.
I couldn't possibly not break my rules." I need to
I can't
continue breaking them.
I can't stop breaking my rules.
You can't just stop. Once you pop, you just don't stop, actually, is what I've heard. So,
Yeah, that's what Amy heard too.
yeah. Um, so she, and you know, I will say also, I maybe underestimated on my first read through until like later reading Ward, the extent of what she does here with Victoria. I like gave her some sort of weird natural benefit of the doubt or like I don't know, unhorror filter. Um,
Mhm.
yeah. Vale says sounds like Taylor to be fair. Um, yeah, but I don't think Taylor's does it as bad as Amy. Like this is yet again a moral quibble, but Vale says I can't
I
stop
can't
being a
stop.
villain now since I started. Gotta see it out. Well, see, I literally think the circumstances are so different in terms of like Taylor is actually like kind of effectuating good and change, although justifying like whatever. Like Amy's not. There's no like
Amy,
good
oh
outcome.
my
There's no
God.
Dinah saved. You know what I
Do we
mean?
wanna start with the characters in this chapter? Because
Yeah.
I feel like there's so much to say about Amy and
Okay.
Carol.
So I didn't know what order to put these characters in, so I sort of cycled them like this, but we can do any of them in any order.
Let's
Amy
start with
first.
Amy.
Okay.
I I don't know. So this bitch is crazy, but I do feel like it's like I'm sure that we'll get more details in Ward, but it is really hard to follow exactly the events that occurred because she's saying that she just wanted basically that she wanted to have like a nice happy moment with Victoria before she left. And so I had assumed that she had like done the physical changes that were needed to to change her back to herself first and then tried to change her mind to have the happy moment and then went to change her back from the happy mode and then things go to shit? Is that what happens?
I think it's like no. I think it's like that she never successfully changes her um
Oh, she can't get her to be like
body.
happy.
No, she never changes her
Okay,
body.
okay,
So because she
okay.
never fixes the body and because she always is like fucking up, however much it is intentional, unintentional, half on purpose, whatever level, it's still unclear to me to this day. But wherever she's at
Hmm.
with that, she can't get the body right and keeps getting it more and more wrong. And then there's more
Hmm.
of her. Oh no, not more of this person who I have this crazed attraction to. Um, and then so she fucks it up beyond the point where she can remember what she's supposed to look like, and then after that, like because she's like making these, can't fix the body thing. There's always the excuse that like, oh, I can't do the mind until the body's done. So there is no point
Hmm.
where she even tries to change her mind back.
Mm. Yeah. She says, let's see, what does she say? I wanted her to be happy. Yeah, I wanted her to be happy. I could adjust, tweak, expand, change things to serve more than one purpose. I had the extra material from the cocoon. What the fuck is she talking about?
It's like she's explaining that she needed to give Taylor upgrades because Taylor had asked for
Yeah,
upgrades, but like
was she giving her upgrades?
I think she was trying to.
Dude, that part's Taylor's fault. She gave her the idea that she could upgrade people.
Bro, I could upgrade anyone.
Vale said, I agree. Amy is completely self-engrossed with no vision outside of Amy. Taylor has some of that, but she also really wants to do right by others. Parentheses sometimes. Amy just wanted the best hug ever, which included a few dozen extra body parts and mind control. So I
Let's
think that
put some like major quotes around hug. Um,
so I'm gonna say timeline of events because this is like always I'm like what the fuck is happening here, but I think so she takes her back. She's whatever going doing whatever she wants to Victoria, and then she's like, well, if I give her the upgrades, I think the intention is to try to like make her forgive her in some way where it's
Probably.
like she comes out of this and then she has like these extra
You've got four
a few
arms now,
extra
bro. You're
limbs.
awesome.
You got so many extra limbs.
You're
I
like
just
Spider-Man
really,
from the
really,
alternate
I
universe where
just
he has four
really, really,
arms.
really want to know what upgrades happened. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and then she hugs me before I left forever. So I think maybe she was hoping that she would do the upgrades and then change her mind back, and then Victoria would forgive her, and then she'd leave. Because I think that's what makes the most sense. Because she keeps being like, "Oh, I needed one last hug and one last smile or whatever," which she can get whenever she wants. But I think that she wanted like the actual Victoria to give her those things.
Right.
Okay,
But
okay, that's what I'm settling on.
either way, there's a lot going on, and you're still. I would implore you to continue, Ward.
Well, I am continuing Ward, so I'm sure there's a little bit more details. Um, but Vale is asking how far I am. How far am I? I'm in like Arc
Arc
12.
12.
Yeah, I'm like in the middle end-ish of Arc 12.
The reason
Um,
that the reason that the reading has stopped is that that you have a changed schedule as far as like carpooling, and so you were listening to it
yeah.
with someone, but now it's like a problem because you're not carpooling.
Yeah, now we're not carpooling anymore, so I'll have to like change the cadence in which we were listening
I
to
was
it.
telling you though, you guys
Um
got to listen at home.
I know. We just need to listen at home. It's just like I need to find like a good like thing to be doing while we're doing it. And then
Yeah.
like I feel like that's like the only way to get in a routine about it. So but yeah, I obviously need to listen to more because Amy, what the fuck? I don't
I
know what
almost just
else
said
to.
something where I'm like, this will give you some voracious reading appetite, but I was like, no, I must hold back.
No spoilies.
I must do good.
Um, what else to say about Amy this chapter? It's like she did what Jack asked her to do. And I know that like he said that she did what he asked him to do, but I don't know.
I thought that
It
Taylor
seemed
had sort
like
of won her over in some sort of nebulous way, but I was just wrong.
yeah. Amy has never changed her mind in her life is the thing.
Yeah, yeah. Oof.
And so, yeah, I don't know. I think that maybe like a way to look at this is like Amy's thought process because she is unable to change her mind is always additive, which might be like the thing that fucked her up with the healing. Because when she's like in her worst state, she's like adding and adding and adding and explaining and explaining and explaining. And she's like, maybe I can just keep building her. And then when I have each correct part, then we can like cut off the rest of the math. And then like
It is weird because there's like another aspect to it of like usually powers will act out when you're not acting out, if you know what I mean. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and here the power she's letting loose, but it's still like fighting her. Um,
Mm-hmm.
she has like more control issues than like to a greater degree than the vast majority of parahumans. I'm sure there are
Yeah.
examples of people with worse. Like obviously there are completely uncontrolled powers, but hers is pretty bad.
Yeah. And I
And
mean, we could
mm,
maybe think that like maybe hers is just an always on power in the way that Aisha's is. And so like that's why she like has so much trouble controlling it.
hmm, maybe.
Um
And I
I
guess part of it
also
is that it's such a big flip from when she had like very strong control of it up until story start, and then it's like in arc 14 that she gets totally brain broken.
yeah.
You were saying something?
Oh, Amy. Yeah, I was just gonna say on my original read through, my because I think that like the the way that she could have been healing her, like I had said, like does make sense. But my original assumption was that this had happened like when she was molesting her kind of thing. And so I don't know, I guess it could be either or, and I'm sure there's like more details in Ward about like what actually went down.
Kind of and kind of not. They're
Yeah.
like there's a point at which like some memories are unlocked for Victoria, and
Hmm.
major long-term spoilies, and it's sort of like you see some of it, but then it's still mostly hidden from reader view.
Hmm.
But it's
Yeah.
like much
And
more explicit and is like, no, this wasn't the very tame thing that most of the readers understood it to be.
did people think it was tame?
Well, I guess I didn't read as much of the essay into it as like is clear by the text of Ward.
I only assume that because of that's like Wildbow's style for talking about assault. He like very, very rarely says it explicitly. And we get the same thing in the previous chapter with Rachel, where it's like implied that something horrible happened to her. And then she's like, anyways, well, Taylor's actually like, anyways, let's go eat hamburgers.
Yeah, yeah.
So that one was on Taylor.
Well, she
But
brings it up right after the hamburgers. I will say Taylor's not that tactless.
yeah, it's
She's
just not that
close.
bad. But that's why I made the assumption is more because that's his style, and it totally made sense to me
And
that that's what
it was a
happened
better
because
read. That's what he was going for. And I
mm,
just um
um
anyway.
Vale said, let's see, it's better to be wrong and lost than never to be wrong at all. Wait, Amy, that is not how the phrase goes. There are peripherals about what went down that shine a pretty clear light on the scene. Okay, yeah, That's what that's what I thought. And maybe that's the thing is that like readers didn't pick up on it, and so Wildbow like maybe felt the need to make it more explicit.
I'm pretty sure that is the case.
Yeah.
Because as I recall, that's something he said. Maybe it was in a discussion after we've got Worm or at Ward thing, but I just remember that being said about that at the time, and it was like, yeah, because like I don't know, it's worse than I thought. I mean, I already
Hmm.
thought that the metaphorical, like, I thought that all of those things were happening just in the metaphor of powers, not also for real.
Yeah, yeah, because Alec literally is like, "Oh, you mind raped her or whatever not last chapter, but last arc." And so like she already did the bad, like the worst thing that you could do. Just she just did it in like a different way than typically happens or whatever. Like
Right,
it
but then she
only
piled
happened
on
that
the
way.
normal version too.
But then she piled on a normal version. She just couldn't get him out of she couldn't get that idea out of her head after he said it. Oh
Ugh.
my God, Amy.
It's
She,
one of your love
I
interests
don't
being
fuck.
a bad influence on another.
It is. Oh, Alec is a really bad a bad influence.
Mm-hmm. Do we want to talk about Victoria now?
Yeah, we can talk about Victoria.
Um, she's a people pile now, and she's still left. It's ambiguous in this chapter, but it is clear later. She is left in love with Amy. Amy did not fix that part, so she is forever in love and trapped in a body that she can't use meaningfully, and she can't speak
Yeah.
because she doesn't have like the motor control that is required for speech, which like
Hmm.
you don't think about how much it because you just do it, but like it's crazy how much motor control you need to speak.
Yeah, I think that the fact that she's still brainwashed does lighten up Carol being like, "Oh no, Victoria's gone. That's not my daughter." Because
Well, okay,
it,
and
it
again, this is part
yeah,
of why I didn't think the other thing happened is because it's like the brainwash is already so horrible.
it's
It's just
already
sort of
so
like
bad.
it's the like fate worse than death torture of this portion of the story.
It's just that Amy already did so many bad things, and they're like all stacking up on each other, and they're all powers related. And so you're just like, okay, this is what is happening in the story. It doesn't, yeah, it's what you said. It was like, oh, this is the metaphor or whatever, but it is the metaphor, and it's also just explicitly in the text. Um, Let's see. Vale said, I 100% didn't pick up on it. There were some really heated threads on the topic in various fandoms that made me actually feel bad for not getting it. Oh, don't feel bad. But I forgave myself eventually. That's the thing. It's like, yeah, we when you see a metaphor there, you're not expecting the the actual thing that the metaphor is explaining to also be in the text because like why would it? And that's not saying that Wildbow's a bad writer. It's just like in most writing, that's not how things are going to go down.
And then Greg also said here, he recalls Wildbow saying that he didn't want to depict, you know, R word on screen, which is understandable. And it's like, that's good, because I feel like a lot of authors would. And like, that's a bramble pit if ever there was one.
They do, and they don't always do the best job with it. And especially when you're dealing with like an online fandom, which writing a web serial is obviously going to prime yourself for having like a fandom, because you're like already in online culture or whatever. Sometimes it's best to not lend yourself to anything that people could be like, look, it's romantic. Look, they're in love. Anything like that. Because I feel like there's so much of that in fandom culture.
Yeah, and I feel like this one is like so explicit that like Amy bad, there is no love between them, that I don't feel like there's a problem here.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Um, yeah, I think it was really unclear that Victoria was still brainwashed. Like when I
I didn't know
saw
that
her
if
in
she
the
was still like a
hospital.
conscious person or not.
Yeah, yeah. So she's like kind of less brainwashed than she was before, but she's still like
It's like the
it
worst
seems like
middle
she
ground.
yeah, she's like in the middle ground where she's conscious, but she's like obsessed with Amy. Vale said 3% super toxic readers who will glorify the scene. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if there's anything else to say about Victoria in this chapter. It's like just super sad,
Well, I
but
was gonna
don't
say like
worry,
the
she'll be back.
the way that like her mom totally dismisses her is like something that will just
Oh,
continue.
yeah, it's pretty horrible. Let's talk about
She
Carol then.
metaphorically turns into a ball to deflect pain with force fields.
Carol, Mother of the Year.
Mhm. As the first question went, great mother or greatest mother? Um,
Um, Victoria says something at the very beginning of Ward along the lines of like Carol can only be mother to one of her daughters at a time, and that really
mhm.
shines through in this chapter.
Yeah, yeah, it's like she switches from one to the other.
Yeah.
It's
She's
almost
like,
like she has a favorite person and she's really mean to them and hard on them, but she still has a favorite person, you know?
yeah. And her favorite person at the beginning is Victoria. She's pretty upset that she's missing. She does not have a single thought or care about Amy's
Well-being.
status.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when Lady Photon is like, they found your daughters, she's like, ew, plural.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, she
Oh,
has like
Vale's got to go.
I
Bye.
I think that by Vale, I think that as soon as she found out, not even that. I think that Carol disowned her when Mark was injured in the Leviathan fight. I don't think this is how she's been the entirety of their childhood. I just like can't think that she would be like
Yeah, no, I think there's
so
supposed to be
evil
like a
towards her.
distinct change after she wouldn't heal Mark and then she would heal Mark. Like the way that Amy's chapter is, it's like she feels this active change in the way that Carol and Victoria are treating her.
Yeah. Um, but aside from the horribleness of disowning Victoria at the end of the chapter, she kind of does like internally at least like fix things with Amy, which is crazy.
Yeah, and she never has like an expression of that fix to Amy. Like they do hug, but that's it. And like it's such a like I don't know, such an internal like mental only thing where she does not confer with the person that her opinion has changed about for either of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy stuff.
Yeah. I know at the end of the chapter when she like leaves and is like, I saw what I needed to see or whatever. I saw that as like she further confirmed that like Amy was her daughter and like part of what went wrong was like that Marquis had intended this from the beginning. Um like maybe even intended to put her in a home where she would not be able to like attach to her parents.
Hmm. Hmm.
And in the at least in the We've Got Worm reading, they did not see that as that. They saw it as like total dismissal of Amy again. So I just wanted to mention it.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of this, she has latched on and attached herself to someone who, from her perspective, she'll never be able to talk to again.
Yeah.
To avoid the pain of looking at someone who she can talk to, but who like it's so painful for her to look at Victoria how she is that she can't fully acknowledge it and interact with her. Um,
hmm
which is obviously like the most awful thing for Victoria because she uh, feels like both of her parents are like disengaged from her and
hmm
like a little future forward, but Mark like stops being as present when they realize that she's still fully conscious there. So like she just has no one.
Is that because it's
Like he
like
can't handle
triggering
I think he
him
can't handle the
to
pressure anymore when he
okay.
knows that she's conscious. That's what I got to
Okay.
imagine.
Yeah, and it is like just like what happened to him as well.
Yeah, that's true too. I didn't even think about it that way.
Yeah, where he's like I don't know how conscious he was, but it's like similar where he was like in he was still fully conscious but not in like a right state of mind.
Yeah, I think he was like close to fully conscious. He just couldn't like do things properly or express himself well.
hmm
So, like, pretty, like, locked in.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Then do we want to talk about Mark next or Sarah? We kind of touched on
You're talking
Mark
about
already.
Mark.
Okay.
Yeah, Mark is depressed. I didn't mention it, but like part of Carol's hesitancy is like to have another kid is Mark's depression because like he clearly like he was the one who wanted kids and then they had a kid and then I mean clearly it didn't like cure his depression and so he's not like 100% there with their current kid all the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think he had a lot of higher hopes for, like, I think he had just that sort of standard thing of, like, if I have a family, that'll fix all my problems.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. But
Kind of
poor Mark.
tangentially related to his problems, not directly. So,
Yeah. And it's unclear from this chapter how Mark feels about the situation with Victoria and Amy. We know that he's upset with Carol about the fact that is she's disowning Victoria. She doesn't she thinks Victoria is dead essentially.
mm-hmm.
Um and refusing to engage with the current Victoria. And so he's not happy about that, but I don't think there's anything said about how he feels about Amy. Like he's not at Amy's thing because he has to be the one who's with Victoria.
Yeah. I think he would have been at both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, not to just endlessly talk about Ward. Like I feel like I do want to talk about the opening portion of the book, which sort of elucidates on, how things have developed between the different family members. But we will save that
Hmm.
for the future. And I will just say about Mark that he has, and you haven't gotten to it, but one of my favorite lines in all of Parahumans when he is vaguely describing his trigger event then gets cut off. It's just like so funny to me. Like incredible comedy moment. Like one of the most like I need to know the story behind what the hell he's talking about like moments
Oh my
too.
God.
Just it's so good and he just gets brushed aside like whatever he's saying is not important. Anyway, uh Sarah though, we should talk about Sarah. She is Lady Photon, the leader of the New Wave team and the Brockton Bay Brigade. Um, she got her powers first and has a mid attack defense power. Not mid like bad, a middle of the road on both, and like a pretty decent. Like she can walk up to a guy and just shoot him to death. And she can also block bullets. So pretty okay on both fronts. And then she can fly. Pretty good all round power. Um, and then that's sort of in comparison to either both her kids who have the like laser dream spec for offense, shielder spec for defense thing, and then her sister who has like the um, it's still light but it just tears you apart power. And I don't know, there's something to be said about like Sarah can protect other people with her power, but Carol can only go into a ball and protect only herself. There's
Yeah. And it
something.
is interesting because I don't know, like Sarah, not that Carol's trigger event was like selfish or anything, but like Sarah was already taking care of him, you know. It wasn't exactly needed. It was a lot more of like an emotionally based trigger than I think Sarah's is more of a mix.
Yeah. Sorry, the dog has wanted in and out 3 times in the last minute. I think
That's
I'm
funny.
just kicking her out.
Okay. Sarah's a lot more motherly than Brandish, earning her Photon Mom name.
Mm.
Lady Photon is a horrible name. Dude, these guys and their names, I think Manpower is a stupid name. I
Yeah.
think that. Brandish is kind of Brandish is like a good-ish name, but like mixed with all these other names, I'm not into it. Um,
It's a weird group, and they have like Blur and Lightstar, and like
yeah.
I don't
And it's
know.
like they're all family members. They could have like they we could have synergized so much better.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my god. Go. Get out of here.
Get out of here, you stupid animal.
Well,
Um,
she clearly by her behavior is not going to stop until I walk out and give her a treat. So I'm just saying no.
yeah.
You know,
Um,
can only indulge so far.
Sarah is more emotionally recovered from their trigger events than
You want to know
than
why?
Carol is.
You want to
Why?
know why? Horses.
Why?
It's horses.
Horses?
Sarah, she spent time with horses.
Did
That's
she go to like horse animal therapy
yeah.
thing?
She did horse therapy and
And
stuff, and she
why
did
did
horse riding.
Oh, okay, okay. It was just horse riding. Because I know like horse
I think it was
therapy is
both.
like
I
a
think
thing,
she
isn't
had
it?
horse therapy.
Oh, okay. Why the fuck didn't Carol go to therapy if Sarah was going to therapy?
I don't know. Couldn't tell
I
you.
don't know. Carol really could have used it.
And what's his name? The brother who we don't remember the name of. He you know, he had felt neglected by his parents who were like more invested in the daughters after they were back. So he was
Hmm.
just like not given enough attention and eventually also got powers. Probably was a
Yeah.
bud off of their powers, to be honest.
Yeah, most likely. Um, I don't think I have anything else to say about Sarah. She seems sweet. She's a lot nicer to Amy when they like go into the confrontation or whatever. She does push a child onto her sister that she explicitly says, I don't want her and I won't love her.
Yeah, it's
So
true.
that wasn't the best idea. But I think that like
I
Sarah
will put this out there.
receives
They were pretty young. I
yeah, yeah, yeah.
cuz I think okay, let's say was Amy 6 or 7?
Yeah, she's 6.
So she's 6. I think that Victoria's maybe a year older than Amy. Do you think that's right or are they the same age?
No, they're the same age, she
Okay,
says.
so Victoria's 6 and I know she was born when Carol was 17. So um
Dude, that's her idea of thinking about it. What the fuck?
um well, I think she thought about it and then had an accidental pregnancy.
Oh, okay. Maybe she had an accidental pregnancy and then she thought about it a lot.
Um, so Sarah would be okay. So she's like 23. Sarah would be like
Hmm.
a couple. She's like 24 or 25. I guess she's like not that young. I don't know.
Yeah, but she's like, I don't know. They're pretty young, and also like I feel like you know how they say like celebrities get stuck at the age that they became a celebrity at or whatever. Like parahumans are kind of similar.
Hmm.
Um, where it's really hard to mature. It's a lot
Yeah.
harder to mature than if you're a normal person. Um, what else was I gonna say about them? I totally forgot. Sarah and Carol. Oh, I think that, s- well, first of all, Sarah's logic makes total sense because Carol has a fucking husband that like she totally trusts and did not come from her womb and didn't know from day one, obviously. And she's fine with him. Maybe Carol's just sexist. But also I think Sarah like is so loved by Carol just because of like I mean the fact that she's like her older sister or whatever, but they like also went through this horrible trauma together and emotionally took care of each other during that time that maybe she like sees Carol's warmth more than it's there for other people.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think Sarah's the
Yeah.
only person who could have talked her into it.
She sure did.
She sure did it. I don't think we read this earlier, but Greg said, yeah, he should have chosen a more traditional name, Power Man.
He should have been the Energizer Bunny. I
Oh.
just some of their costumes too, like orange and white. Are you kidding me, Carol? It's so bad. I've talked about New Wave's costumes before, but
But
oh my
damn,
God, what's Mark's hero name? Because his is the worst of all.
flashbang.
Flashbang. Okay, Flashbang,
And
horrible,
his armor has
horrible
the
name.
grenade pattern, which
Ho-
Victoria hates
Horrible,
because she's like,
horrible
most
name.
flashbangs have smooth canisters. It doesn't make any sense that you have the grenade
Horrible
outside.
name, and his fucking outfit is so bad, and it doesn't make sense,
And it doesn't
and it's
even
like,
fit with the other ones as well as the other costumes
yeah,
do.
exactly, like it doesn't coordinate with
It's so
any of the
funny.
rest of the teams,
Well, it's like
and
a
his like
metaphor.
he has like a helmet that like makes his head look like a grenade, which is just so fucking stupid. I don't know. I can't handle New Wave sometimes.
I love it. I love it. Mark's one of my faves. I know he has a dorky like dad outfit, but
I mean,
yeah.
it's just like so dad though. It's like he probably like joked about doing it, and then Carol's reaction, she was like, "Mark, stop," and then he like just did it, just to like kind of
I was gonna
kind of
change
be
it, but I
annoying.
lost track of time, and now we got a patrol.
Oh my gosh. Um. Okay, that's enough about that's enough about Mark.
Yes. So we are on to Marquis.
Marquis,
Double
the
dads,
the
Mark and
better Mark.
Marquis.
This guy is king of what's it called? Cape back and
Super
forth.
jail.
Banter. Yeah. He's the king of banter. Even in his the most stressful moments of his life, he was given hella banter.
Mm-mm. If you could move the blade back a bit, my neck is melting.
He Carol likes him, which is like the
Well,
problem
she
that
like
she
likes
has with
him.
him. She she likes people that she doesn't like, and then when they betray her like they told her they were going to, then she gets really upset about it.
Yeah.
So she's got a weird, she
Well, I
like
mean, like
projects.
it's obvious that she has this like weird, unhealthy, dangerous fixation on like men who want to do her harm.
Yeah, like men who like Marquis, I think the reason she likes him is like part of it's probably the banter, but also the fact that he like plays by the Cape rules so well. I feel like those always make for likable villains, when they're like really into the cops and robbers thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't have that much to say
Um,
about him this chapter.
Yeah, he seemingly set up Carol a little bit here with pawning his daughter off on her to raise her
I think it was more
until
like
she
a
would
Xanatos
eventually.
gambit. I think it was like the kind of thing, not where he thought that this scenario would happen, but where it
No, no,
just like
no.
keeps the ball in the air.
Yeah, yeah, which I think is what he was going for. Because then Amy returned back to him, and now he's got his daughter back. Isn't that nice?
Mm-hmm. And he enjoyed his time with Amy more than all the different things he had. He didn't even care about things in the end. Turns out things didn't make him very happy.
I don't know a lot about Marquis, but I don't know. He could be worse. He could be a worse dad. You know
He,
what I like a worse person could be dad to Amy
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
be now fathering her.
I think that in a way he helps temper her because like he gets murderous on purpose and doesn't care about like murdering people, but like
Hmm.
he does care about Amy and he
Hmm.
will try to bring her just back to a medium place where she can use her power without like making people into like Akira monsters. Um
Hmm.
so
Yeah. He also He
Yeah.
also was a good dad when Amy was a little kid. She's like, I love him so much. He reads me bedtime stories every night and makes my life amazing.
Well, see, one thing about being very rich and only having to work a few hours a week is that he has a lot of
Mhm.
time to spend with his daughter.
He does. So that's kind of cute. I'm glad he's a good dad because not a lot of capes are very good parents. I mean, I'm sure
Well, he
he's
would
gonna
probably be
make
like,
some
"It's
mistakes
fine to murder people." You know, that'd be like
as
his
long
thing.
as they're not women or children. But
Hmm.
you can, Amy, because you're a woman and a child.
Yeah, exactly. My rules don't
It
say
is
that
good for
woman and
him to
child
have.
can't do murder.
Yeah, it is a good idea for him to have her on his team because when there's a pesky woman or child that needs to be taken care of, she can for sure take care of them.
Oh, that's what you were saying. I was thinking that it was just that the rules are monodirectional, where woman or child, it's fine for them to do murders, just only against
Mm.
men.
Oh, okay, okay. No, she I think is allowed to do
She's
murder
her cape
to
name is
children
Loophole.
and
Yeah. I got a job for you, Loophole. Um, yeah. I mean, that's the Grim Worm fan fiction. Um, but I don't think that is his plan. I think that he would be like, Amy, you also can't do that and have to follow my code. You know what I mean?
Mm, I suppose.
Probably.
I don't think he would let Amy kill children, but I think that he would not be super upset if she killed a woman.
Hmm. You might be right. Um, for the next one, we'll do Alan. The surprise reveal. We'll just get him out of the way real quick. Um, you know, he was just there to go, aha! Bet you didn't think it was Emma's day. So I don't know. I don't have much to say about that.
It is funny. They're like, and she's like telling him all about what's going on in her life to like a in a really specific degree. She's like, oh, one of my daughters is not my daughter anymore, and then the other one went after her, and now I'm pretty sure she's dead, and I want to be at work, but nobody else is at work. And he's like, oh, that's crazy, Carol.
That's some
It would be
kooky
really
stuff.
fun. It would be fun to have an open cape coworker because you would get crazy tea.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Um, well, I want to move on to Dragon. Um, she is I don't know, the most like socially adroit parahuman.
Oh,
It's like her and Miss Militia. They're the only ones who can talk to anybody.
I was
Um,
gonna say she's so cold this chapter. She she just like always knows exactly what to do when other people are going through it.
yeah, yeah. I think she does really good here. We could pretend like, oh, can you believe this robot doing such a poor imitation of a person? But it's more like, wow, she's a really good person.
She's a really good person. I always like forget to mention because I'm like, Dragon leaves the room, Dragon comes back. And I was like, I should mention that this is not physically happening. Her face like pops up on the monitor. I'm sure she's still watching.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
But she wakes up Carol like she says she will. So
yeah, yeah. Super sweet to Carol. Um, I don't know. I feel like she like picks up so quickly the like weird feelings that Carol's going through and is like, you should go talk to Amy. And she's like, you're right.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. Um well, I don't got much more to say on it. We'll see Dragon a lot in the future.
Hmm.
But we want to move this previous chapter of
Yeah.
characters.
Yeah, back to the chapter.
Back to the Undersiders. Um, I had sort of written these to read through in this order, so we'll start with Rachel. There's a lot of Rachel in this chapter. Um, she's kind of like a primary focus. And then kind of Alec in the last portion. Like I know everybody's there, but it really feels like a Rachel chapter than an Alec chapter for a little tiny bit.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, Rachel's all like, everyone's gonna betray me still, and if I'm not angry with Taylor, she'll think I'm weak.
And Taylor's like, if I'm nice to my friends in front of other people, they'll think I'm weak.
She's doing the same thing as Rachel, but like, if I'm in secret private mode, then I can be nice and no one can see me.
Yeah. Rachel's apparently been having trouble getting along with her new minions.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully, by telling them really basic advice like "don't lie to Rachel," they'll do slightly better. I think her advice, while accurate, is pretty fucking pathetic to me.
I don't know. It's like it is accurate, but the thing is that same advice given to her like at the start of the book would not have helped the situation at all. Um, which like she should know, but
Yeah.
she I know she can't go on outing Rachel and everything, but honestly, I'd be like, you guys are good with dogs, you know.
Wink.
Wink, wink.
What's she doing over there winking? I don't know. Maybe she's got one of those spice bugs in her eyes.
Yeah, she's got a spicy bug in there.
Yeah. Um, I thought I'd have more to say about Rachel. But maybe I don't.
I know. I feel like it's more just like the stuff with Rachel this chapter is more Taylor than it is Rachel. You know
Well,
what
it
I
feels like
mean?
Arc 7 Redux, you know?
Yeah. We're just like making sure that everything is cool between these two before we move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And it is. It's super cool. She's got a cool new jacket and she's got a mask that looks like Brutus. I think that one of the funniest lines that Taylor ever says is like, I didn't think so, but I decided not to say anything. And it's like, Taylor, what the fuck? Why doesn't it look like Brutus? I need more details.
Well, I think she just made it like to be a generic dog, and she doesn't understand what makes it more or less Brutus.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I hope that Rachel has a better time with her new people. She lets up after some interrogation and allows one of her dogs to be adopted, which is, I think, really big growth from her. She does get to like keep an eye on the person all the time, which probably makes it easier.
It's also like, although it's true that it's been her stated goal for a long time, like it took Taylor pushing her previously and then now this for her to like
To actually get a dog
basically like
adopted.
adopt dogs, even though that's her theoretical goal from the very beginning. And like she
Yeah,
just
is that
like
they'll
wasn't,
eventually be able to go to homes.
yeah, she wasn't making any progress on her goals when she was alone. Just she was
Yeah,
completely stuck in the water.
yeah.
So yeah. Hmm. Growth from
Hmm.
Rachel. We get Barker. This is a terrible instance of Taylor's racialized violence attacking the darker skinned of the two people.
I did. Like, I don't think she even says it in that chapter. But then when I went and looked at his character description in the wiki, I was like, oh no,
Yeah.
she like she attacks the brown person. Oh, Taylor. I kind of clock Barker and Biter as like ex-military, but not ex-military in the way that Coil hires, you know, the kind of ex-military I mean.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, so that helps
Remind me
me
of
a
people
lot
I
to
know.
like, yeah, exactly. They remind all of us of people that we know,
Yeah.
ex-military people. But yeah, Barker likes to call people whores immediately after they say, "Don't fuck with people when you're in their territory."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
He's kind of an idiot. Um, Taylor originally thinks that he's the brains of the operation, but clearly not.
I don't think there is a brains of that operation. There's no like
I
leader
don't think
between the
there
two of them.
is. I think they're just like and like
They're just two
Barker and
guys who are
Biter.
having a good time. Yeah.
I know they're like they might be friends, but like Biter says that the reason he doesn't care is because he's trying to take Taylor's advice, but I don't think so either. I think he just like is kind of like, haha, my friend got knocked over. What a shithead.
Well, I think it's twofold. I don't think he's laughing at Barker. I think he's just like, "Oh wow, I don't want that to happen to me." And also like the other thing that he says his stated reason is like that's a convenient out. It might also be partially true, but my impression was mostly that like I don't want to get bugged also.
Yeah. I don't want bugs in my eyes and nose and mouth and ears.
Yeah. So he makes the sensible decision because I mean, let's be real. He gets up and he fights. What's the best case scenario? They beat her and then Rachel arrives. What are we talking here? That's, it's insane. There's no winning that scenario. So he does the only thing which is not to play the game. You know.
Yeah.
I don't have that much to say about Biter. He's kind of a funny character to be around sometimes. He gets a little more background work than Barker overall in the story. I never once see him pull off a maneuver worth noting in terms of powers. So, yeah, I consider him an incredibly low tier parahuman.
Yeah.
There's two normies. There's like a lady and a dude, and I think that one was like a vet student and one was a regular college student or something. But I literally didn't go back to find out, and the dude doesn't get a chance to speak in the chapter. Not very important.
Yeah. He's got like scars on his face or something, and you're
That's because
like, what's that about?
well, we know what that's about. The Siberian scratched his face with her
Oh, okay,
hands.
okay, okay.
So
Yeah, yeah. I forgot that there was like a person there when she decided to do that.
yeah, yeah. But for whatever reason, she didn't kill him, which works for me. Now he
Mhm.
has evil looking scars.
Mhm.
Maybe he'll have some sick ass parahuman powers later, and he'll be like the scarred one. Who knows?
Our favorite normie Charlotte is also in this chapter.
Hmm.
She just cowers in fear and then cooks some hamburgers.
And then gets them towels. She really does all the cooking and cleaning.
Yeah,
You know what? Charlotte is Taylor's wife in this section of the book.
that's the thing. She is. She's like a wife and a mom, and it's like kind of sad because I
Because she's
don't think
also got
that
a girlfriend, Sierra.
it's just kind of sad because like it doesn't seem like Charlotte leans towards this kind of work that she's been forced into.
It's hard for me to get a sense if she does or doesn't. It seems like she already knows how to cook well. And then like she never verbally opposes anything, and it's hard to tell how much of that is like genuine, like
Well,
I can do
I mean
whatever.
she
Because like
cooks.
when
Sh
she takes on the kids on her own, and that's why it feels
Mhm.
like more natural for her to be doing this, and like just to again like see the future a bit. We know that she doesn't like stray away from this, even when like and her are not interacting anymore.
Mhm. Well, Charlotte, I think in Sierra's chapter, she actually says that she doesn't know how to cook, but then she proceeds to make like vegetable stock from scratch. So I think she's like Sunny Baudelaire, and it's just like in her genes.
She's got the power
It's
of
been
cooking.
like it's been like lying dormant up till now because she does like a lot of cooking throughout the book, and it seems like it's always really good. Uh,
Yeah. And like she's involved in that like feast scenario
mhm.
that Taylor puts together, so
Oh yeah, they have like a barbecue.
mhm. Um well, as much as I love Charlotte, let's move on. She's like a normie, but she's not like the other normies. She's like a luminary among non-Paracons.
She's a likable normie because I don't think she ever does anything wrong except right when Taylor meets her. And she's like, "Oh, you're Locker Girl."
Yeah.
But to be fair, she was in shock and probably drugged at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. But moving on to Lisa, who gets a Lisa drop this time, not just Tattletale today.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and then, she's there advocating on behalf of Taylor, but not taking the spotlight. She's letting
hmm
Taylor take the spotlight.
She does take a seat back this chapter. She's got a pretty firm belief that she will get murdered by Quail as soon as possible, as soon
Mm-hmm.
as it's more convenient for him to murder her than to have her on his side.
Yeah, she doesn't belabor the point, but I thought it was pretty clear that that's what she feels. Although I don't know that the characters necessarily pick up on that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. She's worried about
Like
her and Taylor's safety.
she says it like he might leave us behind, and then like later, like moments later, but she does say like he might, he knows how to off me if he wants, but it's like the way she strings together the ideas feels like that's a possibility sense rather than like he might also leave them behind, which I don't think is actually a possibility. Like he would definitely try to kill them and not leave them
I think
behind.
that it's more likely that like Lisa is gonna be number one, like then Taylor, but like Lisa for sure is gonna die if they don't do something about Coil.
Yeah, yeah. Um. Then I don't know. She does stand up against Alec at like two distinct points, so that Taylor doesn't have to spend that emotional power to do that. So
hmm
that's good. She's getting what she wants, which is Taylor's goals.
hmm
Um,
Which is making Taylor happy.
mhm, mhm. Um, I think we can move on to Brian. He's one of the only people here. I think the only person. Yeah, the only person where I wrote down a little thing for them, which is that he had a strong reaction that I kind of skipped over in my uh, thing when Aisha brought up their mom being on a bender, and Taylor was like, I thought that Aisha would be more upset because she grew up with her mom. But I think it's more like Aisha is used to it and is also covering for being upset about it in a
hmm
large way. But Brian is maybe being more honest about, like, just emotionally open in that moment with his expression than
And,
Aisha. And
and
he's
Taylor should
surprised.
remember that Aisha being abused by the irresponsibility of their mother was Brian's trigger event, not Aisha's. So like
Mm-hmm.
I think it makes sense.
Yeah, I
Um
agree.
like he's way more concerned about the well-being of those close to him than not that Aisha isn't, but she's just like, oh well.
Well, I think this
She
is a
just deals
good.
with it in a different way.
I think this is a good like moment of the story because it's like something that we can reason through pretty easily, and
hmm
like maybe we're not right, but I think we're right, and I think the
hmm
obvious signs point to that. Um, so I think that that's good to have Taylor just kind of be wrong about this interpersonal thing,
hmm
that we can probably see through, and like not, I guess not wrong, but like she's surprised, so her base assumption is wrong, and she's not
hmm
like fighting the change, but it just shows that she has a bad read on Brian generally.
Yeah.
Like she's not able to, I guess, figure him out or empathize with him in like a great way. Um, and I don't know if she ever bridges that gap. Um, do you have any more to say about Brian?
No.
Aisha gets in some good lines, but is generally on Taylor's side. Like I say, I think Taylor lies the perfect trap for Aisha because she's like, I am going to think highly of you, uh, with the idea that you already agree with me, and then if you don't, I will be disappointed in you.
Yeah, I don't think Aisha like at first I was like I don't know like Aisha doesn't really like being told about herself, but I think the problem is actually that Aisha's always being told that she's young and irresponsible, and she's being put in this scenario like you're one of us, you're one of the responsible ones and the more heroic.
Yeah, and she'd basically be, not that she wouldn't for like a bit or whatever, but it's a weird place to be in probably at all in like an intense conversation to be like arguing, oh, maybe I am gonna just act like a shit. I think it's like so much social pressure in this situation that even Aisha's like, maybe now's not the fucking time. Um, and then Alec, of course, there is no time that's not the time. Uh, he
This is exactly the time that he's been waiting for, in
yeah.
fact.
Do you want to talk about him? I talked about him more in my summary, but he's one of your faves, so.
I mean, he's got some good lines in here. I don't think Alec and Aisha bounce off each other at all during this, but they're both funny.
Yeah, it's
Aisha's
it's
like,
weird. They're like two examples of people coming at the same thing from like kind of similar places, but then like being
mhm.
different enough that they have totally split reactions in terms of, he just goes through with his bit. He commits to the bit,
Yeah,
but he doesn't commit
and
that
like
hard.
we said, I don't think it's like he's at the end. He's like, I was just joshing you, calm down. But I really don't think so. I think he was just like he wanted to feel out like what the response would be, and then the response was boring and annoying. So he was like, okay, let's move on. Um, and he's even more complacent, and I think probably he will be for the rest of the up until that 2 year mark when the world's supposed to end, because he does not think that they're going to fix it, and does not super care. He's just kind of like, okay, well, I recognize that we're all going to die in 2 years. So if you guys think this is important, I guess I'll go along with it.
Mm-hmm. Also, I think the like I'm already dead attitude helps him to just kind of do his thing the same way he wanted, where he feels like less limits and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think that's all I got to say. I'm fine with
Yeah,
moving
same.
past the characters section. We saw a trigger event this time.
Oh yeah, it was cool. There was things being hatched, probably the things that we've seen in all the other trigger events. And then
Mm-hmm.
after they were hatched, they paired off with each other before departing for their journeys.
In Decomposing Worm, which I don't think you've listened to, um,
Hmm.
one of the people, I think it's Mateus, but I can't remember which of the two, they had called it the giant flapping beings, and I just think that's a really funny way to refer to them, since we don't really have a
Yeah.
name for them. But yes, the flapping beings, we see tons of them launch off from the egg. I don't think they're ever described as flapping, but somehow this idea was planted in his head, and
They super aren't described as flapping. And I do always imagine them doing the like as a bunch of like when they do
4D
demonstrations
floopy
of four
things, yeah.
dimensional, yeah, it's like 4D flipping things, which does kind of come off as flapping when you have a bunch of them together. So that's probably where that came from.
Mm-hmm. Um, and I find, yeah, I just find that imagery very funny, and I love the trigger events. I think we've talked about it on the stream in the past, but there is one pretty good like little animation somebody did of like Taylor seeing the entities in her trigger event. Um
Hmm.
and that's kind of what I think of now is the like, because I mean they do a pretty good like, fourth dimensiony flappy shard thing, and
Yeah, I think they did a great job with it.
yeah. Um Uh, we get to see some pretty brutal like trigger event murders that are kind of awesome. Uh, if I'm just being honest. And I think the fight against Marquis is a really good like powers demonstration of people we wouldn't normally get to see. Um,
Hmm.
so there's a lot of cool stuff like that. Oh, and Taylor getting all the like gear ready for everybody. I thought that was good because they've kind of like leveled up again. Um, it feels the same as, and I know I've been on real homestuck bender lately with that podcast I was listening to, but it feels like when
Bender is
they,
right.
yeah, I'm on a bender like the
Fell
LeBourne's
off the
parents,
wagon.
yeah, fell off the non-homestuck wagon. And now Vale's gonna ask me later if
What's Homestuck?
should I read Homestuck, and my answer is no, definitely no. Um,
I think my answer I think my answer is usually no, but I'll be like so excited if you do.
oh
That's
yeah,
like
yeah.
always my answer when people ask me.
Yeah, if you get the Homestuck reader and read Homestuck, we'll have a lot to talk about. But maybe don't read. Anyway, so I think of them when they get their like fucking armor upgrades and crap, and they just have new outfits. Like that's definitely this. They like only look marginally different, but they're much tougher. Um, and I mean, it's cool that Gru has a new Gru face, but I guess
Yeah, it's kind of cute that it'll like go with Imp's mask because they're both like scary demon things.
she's more, yeah, she's more of a traditional demon, and he's more like a weird horror movie thing. But I think his
Mhm.
new thing like fits his, like the idea that he had had before is that to him it fit his darkness better than the skull did. So yeah, um,
Yeah, I think it's fun. And I don't know. I guess I'll probably still wear his motorcycle leathers. I don't know. I think his costume isn't not costuming like everybody else's,
well,
but it's okay because
I think
he's
that a
usually
big
covered in
portion,
darkness.
yeah, exactly. I was gonna say like he can. Part of the appeal of his costume, I think, is that when he takes the helmet off, or before, when he even just flipped up the visor, then like he could be a normal person.
Hmm.
So like that, I think that was a big deal to him because more than the other characters, I think Brian thinks of himself as a normal person who does cape stuff sometimes.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, like, obviously that has shifted recently, but like, he's not
Yeah.
like Alec or Lisa or Rachel. He's not even like Aisha now. Um,
Hmm.
because they don't really see themselves as anything but capes.
Yeah.
So
He is a real
yeah,
normie when it comes to, well, he's just a normie, period, honestly. Like, if he was just a civilian character, he wouldn't be like, I wouldn't think, oh, he would be a really good cape, or like he has cape brain, even though he's not one.
like he has good ideas and tactics, and he has like a good sense for things. Like I do think he's good at being a cape, but I agree with you that I
Yeah.
never would have thought to myself he'd make a great cape.
Yeah, for sure.
He is like pathologically risk
Normal.
averse in many occasions, but although not for
Yeah.
himself, only for like the people around him. He goes into that Arc 7 fight with like chest wounds that instantly open up, and he just keels over, and it's like, what were you thinking? Just stay in the fucking church. You're a liability out there.
Yeah,
Um,
it's not helpful.
yeah. Um, I don't think I have any other powersy things to say.
Well, I
Mm.
think that's good.
I didn't exactly have a bonus. I wanted to think of one because I was like, we have uh like a non-arc ending thing, but we already talked about tons of stuff. We should weave in a bonus for the other ones that don't have two chapters for this arc
Hmm.
because I think we're finally at a point where we can do like character power rankings for us, like how much we like them, tier
Yeah,
lists
I think
and
so,
stuff like that. So,
for sure.
audience participation. We got 15.x. How would you react as Carol? And let us see the answers. The one answer is Vale. The underlying thing about Carol is how strongly her personal trauma impacts her whole life. It is intensely selfish, as most trauma tends to be. So I think as Carol, I would be extremely selfish, only thinking about how this disappoints me. This is, or how this is expected, how this impacts me, and how to avoid having to see this traumatic situation by barely acknowledging Victoria even still exists. If I was Carol, that's what I'd do because I'd be Carol. Oh, how would you
Good
react as
answer.
Carol?
I If I was Carol in this situation, if I was a Victoria Carol, a Vic Carol hybrid, I would definitely not disown Victoria because, oh my God.
Yeah, oh my god.
Like, I know they don't have like a good understanding of how Victoria she is there, but oh my God, are you kidding? Like, I don't know.
They don't even try to see.
She doesn't, yeah, she's like, oh well, I guess my daughter's dead. Time to move on to my plan B daughter.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I don't know. I don't know how things turned out like immediately after, but I think I would definitely do all that I could to not get Amy to put herself in the bird cage because that's not going to help anything. But I think that
Like pleaded
as
with her to try again.
yeah,
Like if you
like
consider Victoria to
she
already be dead or whatever, but she's literally
she's in
not.
a situation where at the end of the chapter Amy is like, I don't know what to do, please tell me what to do. And I think because Carol is like going through all this internally and doesn't communicate it to her, she's like, well, I guess I'll have to do the thing I was gonna do anyways, like I always do, and go into the birdcage. Because I think if Carol had communicated to her like the feelings that she was feeling at that time, like, oh my gosh, I this is horrible, but also you remind me of myself when I went through something awful, which was like whatever. I don't know. I think that she could have gotten through to her because this is like the first time that Amy has been like, I explicitly need help with something and I need somebody else to tell me what to do because I can't figure out what to do. Usually she's got an idea and she's gonna go with it herself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that this would have been like had Taylor and Tattletale been there right now, I think that I feel like they might have been able to talk her into like trying to like not that they were successful before, but it just feels like she was so primed and ready for anything.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to
Yeah.
use Taylor's power of manipulation.
Yeah. I think that she was like you said, she was primed and ready, and then Carol's silence, she's just like, okay, well, I guess I'll go back to default Amy because I didn't get any support there. Um, which default Amy is not the best version of herself.
Classic guess I'll die mentality.
Guess I'll just put myself in mega jail. Let's try it out with my other dad.
Yeah, yeah. Good job, Amy. Um uh yeah, I guess I don't have that much more to say about that. Do you?
No.
All right. Well, the question for next week, 15.2, is a fight. MVP of the fight? Question mark.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to start up the track and read off the links as we do. This time we'll have it slower, so be behind. Yes, the music used in this episode is the new song Monarch by ScarlettXOX. You can find her at twitch.tv/Scarlett_Rogue. Our Discord server can be found in a link on the description of the stream and the channel. The author of the work can be supported on Patreon at patreon.com/wildbow. The full text of the work is available for free online at parahumans.wordpress.com. And there's also a fan-made audiobook of the entire work at audioworm.rain-online.org. So yeah, with that, I don't have really much more to say. We go on to do some final goodbyes. Goodbye, everybody!
Bye, goodbye.
Bye!